overboard on the other end. Do I just go forward?
Yeah.
Okay. My name's Hillary Drum. I'm one of the co-chairs for the Ad Hoc Sustainability Committee here in Woodbridge. Welcome, everyone. Some of you are familiar faces, and some are not. If you have not yet, I see you're probably the only person in the room who has not filled out that survey yet, so thank you. There are paper copies of the composting survey in the back of the room on the table. If you have not yet, you did fill it out, yes. And you both did, I think, too, the composting survey. Thank you. And I know Sue did too. We're looking for information on how many people in town compost currently and how many people are interested in composting. There is also, new and exciting, a QR code back there if you are interested in having a residential pickup, paying extra money. This is a private company, Blue Earth Compost, that's who does it at Beecher Road School, and they are willing to do it here in Woodbridge if we can get at least 50 residents. So if you want to sign up with the QR code, or there's actually a list there too, you can just sign your name if you're not QR enabled. Then once we get to 50 people, they'll send you more information on there's also brochures if you want to see what's the deal with it. I believe it's something around $20 to $25 for a month for weekly pickup. So that is that. Today we are very lucky to have Emma McDonald from Deep here, who's going to tell us about recycling. And so, let's see, a couple other, bear with me here, a couple other things. There's the compost survey, if you forgot what it looked like. If you're interested in buying a compost barrel or rain barrels, check out this, the QR code for this one. You would have to take a picture here if you need me out of the way. If you go onto this link, it has a number of different barrels, not just the upright one like we've done in the past, but they have the rain barrels, they have the tumblers, all your composting backyard needs, if you're interested. Next month, our learning activity is not going to be a lecture like we've been doing. It's going to be a bird walk. Mazzaro Farms is actually running it. We're co-sponsoring, and so it's going to be a bird walk in the morning and going with Dr. Chris Lascalzo, who's going to tell us all about the birds that are native to Mazzaro Farm. And of course, I think all of you know this by now because I've been hounding most of you already, but Earth Day is April 27th. Please join us. Join us to participate as an exhibit. Join us to participate as a as a townsperson. There's going to be a whole bunch of fun things to do, recycling things, performances, different exhibits, education, so much fun stuff. So absolutely save the date, plan to be here. It's going to be, a lot of the things are going to be on the town green, some of it's going to be all over town. We're hoping to get a lot of businesses involved and really highlight local shopping too. So, all right, and so that brings us to Emma McDonald. Please join us. I will move to do the expert.
Hello everyone. My name is Emma McDonald. I work at the State Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, specifically in the Sustainable Materials Management Office. So I work on stuff with recycling, composting, which it seems like you guys are gearing up to do a lot of stuff with composting, so that's really exciting. But I am here today to mostly talk about recycling and some of the other waste streams we have in the state. And at the end, answer any questions you guys might have that I don't answer in the presentation. So, I'd like to start off with the solid waste management hierarchy. So this hierarchy is basically a framework that me and my coworkers use when we are looking at solid waste management problems. So basically, the idea is we have this pyramid, and as you can see at the top of the pyramid, that takes up most of the space in the graphic. So that means that we want most of our materials to be prevented from becoming waste in the first place or reused. The next biggest chunk we have is recycling and composting. So what we can't prevent or reuse for waste, we will try to recycle or compost it. And then finally, if we absolutely cannot recycle or compost it, we will send it to a WTE, or waste to energy facility, which you may also know as incinerators, or to landfill disposal, which we don't have any open landfills in Connecticut that take our waste. So if we are sending things to landfills from the curb, that will be shipped out of state. And part of the reason that we have some of our waste being shipped to out-of-state landfills is because in 2022, July of 2022, MIRA, a waste-to-energy facility in Hartford, closed. And this facility used to burn about 1/3 of the entire state of Connecticut's municipal solid waste, which municipal solid waste is basically the garbage that all of us put into our black bins and roll to the curb, and then it's taken away and disposed of. So anything that we put in our black bins, that is municipal solid waste, and 1/3 of that, so 1 in every 3 Connecticut citizens, was sending their waste to be burned at this facility, which is now closed. So all of that waste has to go somewhere still, and the option that we had available was to send it out of state to landfills. So now about 40% of our waste is being sent to out-of-state landfills. So this is a crisis that we're facing in Connecticut with our waste. We want to be able to handle our own waste, because sending it out of state and having it be managed by other people is neither environmentally nor economically sustainable. It's super expensive to ship stuff out of state, and all of those trucks that are shipping waste out of state, that has a lot of emissions associated with it. So we really want to become self-sufficient with our waste. And so one of the ways that Connecticut Deep, so my department, is hoping to work on this issue is through the Connecticut Coalition for Sustainable Materials Management. And so this coalition was created by the Commissioner of Deep in conjunction with over 100 of Connecticut's 169 municipalities. So a large chunk of Connecticut's municipalities are in this coalition, and we have just been discussing different ways that we can solve this crisis and hopefully become more self-sufficient and not be sending quite as much waste out of state. So through CCSMM, we created a list of things that we can do, and that list includes reducing our waste, supporting reuse, recycling more, reducing contamination and recycling. That's a big one that we're going to talk about a lot today. Also supporting food recovery and increasing food scrap collection, which it looks like you guys are about to do a lot of that, so that's awesome. And also unit-based pricing and EPR, which stands for Extended Producer Responsibility. So, unit-based pricing, the first of those two big terms at the end there, is also known as pay-as-you-throw, and a unit-based pricing system basically treats trash like any other utility. So when we pay our electricity bills, we all pay based off of how much electricity we use each month. The way that we pay for our trash disposal right now is we all pay a flat rate no matter how much trash we produce. So I might be producing one garbage bag per week that goes to the incinerator or the landfill, and then my neighbor is producing 4 bags. But we're paying the same amount right now through our taxes to dispose of our waste. So with the unit-based pricing system, I would no longer be subsidizing that neighbor's waste, and they would be paying to dispose of their waste, and I would be paying to dispose of mine. So that's how unit-based pricing works. It encourages people to reduce the amount of waste that they create, because then they get to pay less to dispose of it. So that's how unit-based pricing works. And next we have Extended Producer Responsibility, or EPR. So these programs, we have quite a few of them already in place in Connecticut, and basically these programs have to be passed into law by our legislators, so our elected officials have to pass these laws. And what they do when passed is they ask the producers of difficult to recycle or difficult to dispose of materials to take responsibility for the end of life of those products. So specifically, the 4 images you can see here on the screen, we have programs for these 4 already in the state. So that includes paint on the top left, and then e-waste on the top middle. Also, I can never remember the specific term for these gas cylinders, that's it. So we also have one for gas cylinders that was very recently passed. Those are a huge deal to get out of the waste stream because they often cause fires in recycling plants or in the incinerators, which, you know, in an incinerator you wouldn't think that that would be an issue, but you know, in a landfill or in the place where they're stored before they go into the incinerator, explosions are a huge deal and they cause fires where they're not supposed to be. So getting the gas cylinders out of the waste stream is a huge deal. And then also we have mattresses. So we have EPR programs for all of these materials where the people who produce them, the people who sell them to us, are now responsible for figuring out a program to take care of them so that it's less complicated and it's managed. And very excitingly, we just this past legislative session, so not the current legislative session that's happening right now, but last year's, they passed a law for tire EPR, which is awesome because we have heard from so many municipal officials that tires that they have to collect and clean up that were dumped on the side of the road or just in nature, that costs them thousands and thousands of dollars a year to dispose of. So if we create an EPR program that is effective, hopefully there will be much less illegal dumping of tires on the sides of roads, and it will alleviate that cost for our municipalities. So that will be awesome. So some successes that have come out of CCSMM talks. In Fairfield, they are collecting glass separately from their other recyclables at the transfer station, which collecting glass separately and out of the blue bin system is a really big deal, and I will get into why that is later, but it's awesome that they're doing that. We also have Wilton, which they are implementing zero waste initiatives in schools. They're using reusable trays, they're doing food scrap collection, and they have sharing tables, which if any of you don't know what a sharing table is, basically if a student doesn't want to eat the orange that they had to take with their lunch, they can put it on the table, and then any other kid who's like, oh, I actually would love an extra orange today, they can go grab it. So they have sharing tables at their school. We also have sustainable materials management grants in a lot of towns in the state, and those are very exciting because those are food scrap collection pilot programs. And we also have Bright Feeds, which is a facility that turns food scraps into animal feed. So they process it, and it's really amazing what they can do. They can control the nutrient content of the animal feed that they create. So the people that order from them can get very specific with what they're ordering, and they're using food scraps to do it, so it's awesome. And so all of that brings me back to the solid waste management hierarchy, because every single project that I just talked about in that last slide is moving materials higher on this waste management hierarchy. So it's either taking items that would have gone to the landfill or to waste energy facilities and recycling or composting them instead, or it's taking things that would have been recycled or composted and preventing the creation of that waste or just reusing that instead. So this is the hierarchy that we follow, and that's how we make our decisions in my world of work. And that brings me to the zero waste hierarchy. So this is a framework that I actually just use in my personal life, in my day-to-day, whenever I have an item where I'm like, I don't need this water bottle anymore, what do I do with it now that I have used it and it's just, I need to dispose of it or get rid of it. So basically I can look at this hierarchy and I can say, okay, the best possible thing that I could have done with this water bottle in order to save resources and save money and all of that stuff is refuse it. So if I already have 5 other water bottles just like this at home, and then I'm out and I'm like, oh, I really want water, but actually I already have 5 water bottles, I'm actually just not going to buy this. I'm just going to refuse it. I'm not going to get it in the first place. Second, we can reduce. So if this water bottle had happened to come in a pack of 2 for $5 cheaper than if you bought 2 separately, I could say, okay, it's $5 cheaper to buy 2, but I only actually need 1, so I'm just going to buy the 1 separately instead of the pack of 2, and I'm going to reduce the number that I am bringing into circulation. The third thing that I am doing right now is reusing. So I reuse this water bottle every day. I drink at least one of these every single day. That's my goal at least. We'll see if I reach it today. And then I can repair it. So I don't know if the actual bottle cracked, if I would actually repair that because, you know, I'm drinking water out of it. But if this strap broke, I would definitely fix it. I would probably just tape it back together or do something to repair this so that I can still continue using it. And it'll continue serving its purpose. If it did break in the bottle part, I might repurpose it as a plant pot, so that's the repurpose level. And then unfortunately this is not made of organic material, so it cannot be rotted or composted, so I would have to skip that step. But if all else fails and I couldn't do anything else to prevent this needing to be disposed of, I could recycle it at the end of its life. So that's sort of how you can go through this list with any item you're looking at and say, I'm just going to try to give this item the best possible outcome. And that's how I use this list. You can apply it to almost any item that you are looking at. And then if you can't recycle something, it can go into the garbage. So, what is recycling? I think that when many of us are asked this question, what we think of is, oh, I have this milk jug and I'm done with it, I've used all the milk and I washed it out, so now I'm going to go put it into my blue bin, I'm just going to go recycle it, it's going to go to the curb and then it's taken away and boom, I've recycled, I'm done. But the full system, the full cycle of recycling is much bigger than that. So it does start with collection, but then after our materials are collected, they're brought to a facility where they are sorted into the particular materials that they're made out of. So our facilities that do this are called materials recovery facilities, or MRFs. And at the MRFs, they're sorted and then they're baled. So whenever I look at this slide, it reminds me of WALL-E, if you guys have ever seen that movie where he pulls all the stuff together and then makes it into a nice little compact box. That's how they bale our materials after they've been sorted. And then afterwards, they're sold to an end market. So someone who wants to make a new product will buy the material after it's been sorted and baled, and they'll make it into a new product. So there is yet another milk jug that's been created. And finally, we buy that milk yet again, and hopefully start the cycle all over again by placing that jug into the recycling bin again, where it's collected and then sorted and processed, and then baled to specification, and then sold to end market, made into a new product, and then bought again, and so on and so forth. So recycling really is a cycle that we want to do over and over again. And that brings me to the idea of the circular economy. So this is getting pretty in the weeds, but basically this is another framework that I use in my work to help me make decisions. So basically, if I reuse an item, it's just being used over and over again. It doesn't have to be mined for materials yet again, produced in a factory, made into an item again, and then distributed to a store where I have to buy it, where then I'll finally be using it again. If I reuse something over and over again, I save all of those steps that recycling takes in order for me to reuse that material. So that is why reuse is higher on this hierarchy than recycling is. Each step of this process uses more and more resources and materials and money for you to be using the same product over and over again. So that's why we want to be higher on the zero waste hierarchy than lower. So that's what recycling is, but how do we recycle? And in Connecticut, we have a lot of different programs that we use in order to recycle or dispose of our materials. And you will all probably recognize these two, which is our garbage stream and our recycling stream. And next, we also have yard waste or brush recycling, mulching. We also have food waste composting programs. Great work starting to implement that. We also have bulky waste programs, textile recycling, our paint EPR program. We have a paint reuse program. Also our e-waste EPR program. These are two programs that I talked about earlier. And also our plastic film recycling, which you guys may have seen at grocery stores. So they'll collect plastic film at the grocery store. And I like to include Oscar because who does not love Sesame Street? And another program that doesn't quite fit in with the rest of those is Connecticut's Bottle Bill program. So the Bottle Bill program was originally passed in 1978, the law that implemented this program, and then in 1980 is when it started to be implemented. And the initial purpose of the law was litter reduction. And then in 2009, the program expanded to include more containers, so specifically water containers. And it was also amended to send unclaimed deposits to the general fund, so the general fund that our legislature uses to pay for state programs. And in 2021, so 3 years ago, Public Act 2158 passed, which added a ton of new beverage types to the law. So many new bottles are in the law now. So if you've seen your grocery bill go up just a little bit, that's probably some of the drinks that you've been buying have gone up in price because of the deposit, which you can return to get that deposit back. And that passed in January of 2023, so a year and a few months ago. And in January of this year, 2024, the deposit amount doubled. So it went from 5 cents to 10 cents. So again, your grocery bill may have gone up just a little bit. And all of this is to try to incentivize people to return those bottles and recycle them, because this program ultimately recycles these bottles. And when bottles are returned through this program, they are sorted before they're even sent to be recycled. So the sortation process is much easier. It's much more efficient. And yeah, so that is how the bottle bill works. So something you all may recognize in this picture here is miniature liquor bottles. We see them littered on the side of the road all the time. They are everywhere. And a demonstration of that fact is that when I was putting this slide together, I didn't have a picture that worked well. I couldn't find one on the internet that was free for me to use. So what I did was I got up from my desk, I walked outside, and I walked across the street, and I found one. And I just took my own picture. So this is across from my old apartment building, and this was just in the road. So we have a huge problem in Connecticut where...
What is that? We see them all the time with the beer bottles. We don't know where they come from.
Yeah, I will take questions at the end,
Okay.
but there is a statistic about these miniature liquor bottles that I think it's something, don't quote me exactly on this because I can't remember the exact statistic, but it's like a staggering percentage of these bottles are disposed of within like 100 feet of the liquor store where they're purchased. People buy them, drink them, throw them out the window, and then...
There's one on my street.
Yeah, yeah. So you see them everywhere, and it's a huge problem. So I believe it was, in 2021, they passed Public Act 2158, which requires liquor wholesalers to assess a 5-cent surcharge. So this isn't a deposit like the usual bottle bill, this is a charge. You don't get this money back. And so when people buy these bottles, that surcharge is taken by the wine and spirits wholesalers of Connecticut, who keep track of how many of these bottles are being bought in each municipality. And then at the end of each quarter, I believe it's every quarter, it might be half a year actually, but I think it's every quarter, they return that surcharge to the municipality where the bottles were bought. So your municipality, Woodbridge, should have some money that it's been receiving from this program, and the place that that money is meant to go is towards litter reduction and recycling programs. There are some towns actually that don't get any money from it because they don't have any liquor stores in their town. So that might also be true about you guys, I'm not sure. I haven't looked at a map.
We used to be.
Okay, yeah. So If you guys do get any money from that, or if any neighboring towns get money from this program, feel free to talk to the people who represent you and say, hey, use this money to clean up the bottles. I know some towns have actually hired recycling coordinators with this money. Some towns have bought street sweepers, I believe. So this money is hopefully in the towns it's going to the good cause of actually cleaning these bottles up. It's a Band-Aid, but it's something. So I think the big question that often brings people to these presentations is, are we recycling wrong? Am I sorting things correctly? And unfortunately, the answer to that question, at least in 2015, so 9 years ago when we last checked, was no, not really. That big red piece of the pie, that was all contaminants in the recycling stream in the year of 2015 for the entire state of Connecticut. They did a solid waste characterization study, so they basically went through our municipal solid waste stream and our recycling stream, and they said, okay, what is here that belongs here, and what is here that doesn't belong here, so that we could, me and my coworkers could decide how to best approach the issue and continue to try to bring that red piece down. So one thing that's great about this graph is, as you can see, recyclable paper makes up more than half of our recycling stream. And that's great news because paper is super valuable. It sells really well on recycling markets, and it's a very reliable recyclable material. So other than paper and contaminants, in 2015 they also found glass bottles were a huge part of our recycling stream. Also plastic bottles, aseptic containers and cartons, aluminum cans, steel cans, and then other recyclable plastic. So this is the composition of our recycling bins in the year 2015.
What is aseptic cartons?
It's, I have an example of one that I'll pull out at the end and I'll show you. It's just a container that's like, it's got these weird walls. They only accept them because there's so many of them in the stream, but yeah, I'll explain it more later. And this is the composition of our municipal solid waste stream. So what I was saying earlier, anything that we put in our garbage bins and then roll it down to the curb, that's what municipal solid waste is. And so, as you can see in this graph, a lot of this stuff is recoverable in the recycling stream. So what we saw in the last graph is a lot of stuff that shouldn't be in the recycling is in the recycling. And now with this, we can see a lot of stuff that should be in the recycling is not. It's just being disposed of, unfortunately. So, as you can see, paper is a big chunk. That is something that hopefully we are getting more of into our recycling stream now that it's 9 years after this study was performed. We also have plastics, a lot of which were probably recyclable. We also had metal and glass, also recyclable materials. And then a huge chunk of food waste and other organics. And so that piece is something that we've been targeting quite a bit to try to get out of our waste stream, because food waste is super heavy, it's super soggy, so when you put it in an incinerator, the incinerator has to burn so much more to get through all of the moisture that is in food waste. And food waste we could be composting instead of burning with our garbage, so we would love to remove that from our municipal solid waste stream and instead move it into a compost stream. We also have construction and demolition debris, household hazardous waste, electronics, and other wastes. And so, big question, who here uses the recycling arrows when they're deciding whether or not to throw something into the bin? Yeah. There's always a lot of people who use them because I think we have been told in the past that we should use them, but I'm here to tell you not to use them anymore. They don't mean anything about whether or not an item you have should or should not go into the blue bin. All these numbers are resin identification codes, which basically tells a MRF operator exactly what kind of plastic they're looking at so that they know what the chemical properties of that plastic are. They don't actually tell us whether or not it's going to be sorted correctly in a facility. Whether or not an item is going to be sorted into the correct place in a facility depends a lot more on the shape of the object than the material it's made out of. And we'll get into that more in a second. So fun fact, recycling, it is the law in Connecticut. We are mandated to recycle certain materials in Connecticut. All of us, individuals, businesses, everyone. And so pop quiz, what year do you guys think that this legislation passed? So we have A, 1975.
75.
We have B, 1989. And we have C, 2012. Okay, so this is a little bit of a trick question because two of the answers are technically sort of right, but the initial law was passed in 1989, which was super early. I think that we were within the first 5 states in the United States to pass a law like this to mandate recycling, so pat on the back to us. And then in 2012, they updated the law. So you might remember this law coming around again in 2012, but it originally passed in 1989, so that's awesome. And the items that were designated for recycling in this law, the blue box contains the items that are in our blue bin. So when you are recycling something, or when you're trying to dispose of something and you're trying to decide should it be in or out, this blue box is all the things that should be in. And I know that plastic containers says the numbers of the plastic containers that they wanted in, but that's because this law is from 1989, and back then they did use the numbers for deciding whether or not things should go into the bin or not. So this list includes glass and metal food and beverage containers, plastic containers, numbers 1 and 2 from 1989, so outdated, corrugated cardboard, boxboard, newspaper, magazines, white and colorful office paper. And then everything below here in orange, this is all stuff that we don't expect the average person to need to worry about recycling. But if you do happen to be producing lead acid battery or motor vehicle batteries, you are required to recycle those in the state of Connecticut. So that's that. So the universal list in Connecticut of what is in the blue bin and what is out of the blue bin. Because of this graph that you guys saw earlier from that waste characterization study, we realized that, okay, 1/5 of the items that are going into our blue bins are items that should not be there. So that's a problem, and that's something we need to address. And so my coworkers at the time brought together all of the MRF operators, the materials recovery facility operators, and said, what do you want to come into your facilities and what do you not want to come into your facilities? What items are valuable to be recycled and what items will harm your equipment or harm your workers or just not belong in that system or will be sorted incorrectly? And so they created a list by asking them all of these questions and decided what should be in and what should be out. And this list is very cautious. It includes anything that this list says is in will be in any MRF in the state. Anything that it says will be out is likely going to be out of all of the MRFs in the state, but there are a few that have different technologies. So depending on what materials recovery facility you send your items to, they might tell you something slightly different than this list. But if you're not sure, this list will guarantee that you are not going to contaminate the recycling, which is the biggest goal that we have after seeing this 1/5 contamination in 2015. So I have a little quiz to get a baseline on what you guys know about this list. So what do you guys think? Do you think loose bottle caps are in the recycling bin or out of the recycling bin? If you think it's in, thumbs up. If you think it's out, thumbs down. Alright, looks like mostly thumbs down, so good work. Loose bottle caps are indeed out of the blue bin. Coffee pods, like Keurig coffee cups, coffee pods, do you think these are in or out? Yeah, out.
Why though?
Because they're too small. So I'll explain why they're too small. In or out, shredded paper. What do we think? Paper that has gone through a shredder. All right, this one has a little bit of a more mixed response, and sadly it is out. Pizza boxes. What do we think? This one's always tricky. We've got a lot of waffling. These are in. Pizza boxes are
But if
in.
they have grease on them?
If they have grease on them, they're in.
They
They are
are?
in. Yeah.
Okay.
If they have cheese on them, they're out.
Oh.
If they have like cheese or any like actual food residue, they're out. But grease is okay. Because like I said earlier, our paper materials, our recyclable paper and cardboard, that stuff is so valuable, they will take it if it has grease on it. Alright, so now plastic bags, wrap, or film, can they go in our blue bin? Yeah, that's a no.
What?
What is
Well,
this?
yeah, because I got a whole bag of stuff I don't know where it goes.
I would be happy to explain each item to you at the
Okay.
end. We'll go through another quiz at the end and I'll explain all of it. So expanded polystyrene or styrofoam is the brand name. Do you think that's in or out? Yeah, it's out. And then black plastic containers. Do you think that's in or out? So like if you go get takeout and then the food is in a plastic container and it's just the color black. Do you think that's in or out? Sadly, it is out. So here's a summary of all the things we went through. Sadly, it's a lot of downers, but the pizza box is great news. So the top 5 contaminants that we have in our mixed recycling, so the top 5 items that we found from that red chunk on that graph were plastic bags, loose bottle caps, shredded paper, bagged materials, so materials that were in plastic bags, and tanglers, which are garden hoses, hangers, clothes, so on and so forth. Hangers, both metal and plastic, those are both out. So, bagged materials. Can you guys tell from this picture which bags contain recyclable materials and which bags contain trash?
The green is recyclable?
Can't really tell. You've got a question mark at the end of your guess. It's impossible to tell. And so this is why we don't want bagged materials, because in our materials recovery facilities, the materials that we send, they are dropped on that floor like you saw in that picture earlier, and they're pushed onto a conveyor belt. And the first thing that happens after the materials are put onto that conveyor belt is there are people, like human workers, who are on the sides of that conveyor belt and are tasked with pulling off any of these contaminants that they see. Anything that does not belong there, they are supposed to physically pull off. They're wearing gloves, of course, but they're supposed to pull things off of the belt. And if they see a bag like this, the materials are going by so fast, they have to make split-second decisions. If they see a bag like this, they can't tell if there's beautiful, clean recyclables in there or if it just has garbage. And so anytime they see a bag like this, they will just pull it off and it'll go into the garbage right away. So if you are bagging your materials, they'll be sent to the garbage instead, because they just don't have time to allow for that. And the reason that they have to be so cautious about it is because this is one of the next things that our materials go through. This giant machine, that this piece of the machine, all of this, is black. But right now, it is covered in plastic bags and plastic wrap and stretchy plastic materials. And so, one, the machine can't function properly because it's being slowed down by all this material that's caught in it. And two, this yellow dot down here is one of the workers at the facility. And they had to turn the machine off. He had to jump inside of the machine, which the machine is basically a bunch of like knives pushing the material up, so he's putting himself in danger by jumping into this machine. And he has to physically cut off all of these plastic bags
Like a
so that this
vacuum
machine
cleaner.
can keep working. Yeah. And while my coworker was standing there, in like 15 minutes, that is how much plastic he pulled off of that machine. And that's plastic bags, plastic wrap that the workers didn't manage to catch in time and pull off of the conveyor belt that ended up getting into the machine. And that costs money to stop the machine for 15 minutes so that he can pull stuff off of there. They are losing money whenever they stop these machines because they can't sort the materials as quickly. So that is why we plead people to not bag their recyclables. Because one, your recyclables are being thrown away instead. Two, they're gumming up the machine and causing worker safety issues. And this is why the quality of our recyclables matters so much. It matters that we do not contaminate our recycling because people are working on this stuff and they are put in danger when we don't store stuff properly. And so, this is a picture of glass after it's been sorted. This is all glass at a Connecticut MRF. And as you can see, it isn't actually all glass. I spied pens, pencils, markers, tampon applicators, toothbrushes, lip balm, toothpaste, batteries, razors, bottle caps, craft jewelry, nail polish, coffee pods, squeeze nozzles, pharmacy bottles, and plastic utensils, bless you, all in this glass that has been already sorted by the facility. And so that is the reason why we want to keep our coffee pods and our loose bottle caps out of the recycling bin, because glass is the last thing to be sorted out at our facilities, and the way that they sort it out is by physically breaking the glass into small pieces so that they can sift all of the materials through a screen that has holes in it that are 2 inches by 2 inches, about the size of a credit card. So if you have any item that is not made of glass, that is smaller than that size, it will fall through that grate and it will contaminate the glass, and this is what our glass will look like at a MRF after it's been sorted. And so that is one of the reasons why Fairfield, at the very beginning of the presentation, collecting glass separately was such a big deal, because that means that their glass doesn't look like this. Their glass is actually glass, and it's very, much more easily recycled. It's much more easily actually used by manufacturers in order to make new glass products, because it's not ridiculously contaminated like this glass in this photo.
We do
We
it
do it
too.
too, yes.
We do it too.
Oh, you separate it?
Yeah.
That's wonderful news. Are you guys part of the Housatonic Resource Recovery?
That's the wheeler grader. Oh, no, I'm
I don't
thinking of
think we
the
are.
bird.
Okay, so you guys are just doing extra credit. That's awesome. That's great to hear. I should add you guys to my slide.
We should be up on the list.
Yeah. That's awesome. Great work.
We also compost at the school.
Yeah. So, other items to keep out of the recycling bin are batteries, syringes. Workers on conveyor belts, they have been stuck with syringes before because people put syringes into their recycling bin. That is a huge safety issue, so don't put them in there. Propane tanks, so those gas cylinders, like I said before, they want to explode, so love to keep those out of the blue bin. Ammunition, believe it or not, unused ammunition has been found in recycling stream. Lawnmower blades, they get a lot of lawnmower blades during the summer. Again, super dangerous for the workers who are trying to clean off the contaminants from the line. Knives and other utensils, whether plastic or metal, neither of those can go in. Plastic because it'll contaminate the glass, metal because again it's dangerous for the workers. Diapers, just gross, should not go in the recycling bin, and also tampon applicators, they will contaminate the glass, and also a little bit gross.
What wood utensil?
Sorry about food
Wood
utensils? Wooden utensils would not go in the recycling bin because wood isn't a material that they accept. But if you had a brush, like if you had a yard waste collection, Wooden utensil could probably go in there because they usually send it to mulch. So a wooden utensil would work fine as mulch. Recyclable versus acceptable. This is the biggest thing that I love to try to drive home in these presentations. Just because an item you have is made out of a material that you know is recyclable, it's like you could put it through a system and use it to make a new item. Just because you could with the material it's made out of doesn't mean it's accepted in our blue bin stream. Because the main thing that we're looking for is for our items to be sortable at the materials recovery facilities. And if they can't sort an item into the correct stream, it won't be made into a new product. It's just going to get lost or contaminate other materials. And with that, I will go to my nice in-person quiz with all my materials here. A chair to put it on. So, I have my box of items, and we can go through and I'll see if you guys can figure out whether or not they can go into the blue bin. Some of these I should have given the answer to, and some of these we'll learn as we go. So I'll start with this cup. This is a Dunkin' Donuts cup. It's got the bubble top on it. Do we think this is in or out of the blue bin? Okay, I've got a few answers. Most people say in, some people say out. This is indeed in, and it's in with this cap here.
Without the cap?
With the cap. The cap can also go in.
Yeah, but if it doesn't have a cap, you can still put it in?
What did you say?
Without the cap, you can still put it in?
Yeah, you can still put it in without the cap. Both of these could actually go in separately, but they'll be easier to sort if you put them in together. So this is in. I'm going to run out of space on here very quickly, but we'll try.
Sure.
Another chair.
Take your, the top part of it, and then you can make the chair bigger. Your lid.
Perfect. Good idea.
She does this all the time.
So, blue bin, that's in. How about this plastic film material? So it's crinkly, and yes, you are all right, it is out of the blue bin. But second question, is it in the wrap program? At the grocery store?
No?
Yes, no? Correct. It is not in the wrap program at the grocery store. And the reason is, at the grocery store, they take a very specific type of plastic film. And it looks like I don't have my example material.
But here we go.
But, perfect. Thank you for the example material. This can go into the wrap program. So the way that you can tell what type of plastic film can go in and what cannot is this material right here. I'm just going to do the thumb test real quick.
that.
Oh, perfect. You can do the thumb test with it, which this passed for a second and then it failed. You can see that I can sort of push my thumb through and stretch it, and it doesn't immediately break. It did break, but it doesn't immediately break. It stretches first. This, if I tried to stretch it at all like that, it would just break.
Yeah.
It's not stretching at all. It's just going to break. And it's also really crinkly. That gives you your answer right there. So this would be out of the grocery store program, and this is in. This Amazon, this is in.
That's it.
This can go in the wrap program.
How does one supposed to know
How
that?
do you know that?
I know.
It's
I know.
stretchy.
No, but it's like, I know it's not the end, but this whole program is so lacking from a public education standpoint.
Yeah,
Because there's no way people can know that.
yeah.
I mean,
agree.
it's not about the material, and it's not about the triangles, and it's not about the number. How would you know that? So
Yeah,
there's like, I don't know, like 10 interested,
And recycled CT is not up to date on this. I keep
On
asking.
the wrap.
On the wraps, I keep saying cheese, shredded cheese bags, and that's what you first showed, that type of thing.
This one?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
kind of bag it is.
I will have to check to see, because I am one of the people who runs that list.
And
So
crinkle
I will
bags. I call
definitely,
it crinkle bags too.
yeah, crinkly.
They don't call it crinkle bags.
So something about the Recycle CT, that list, we have all of the materials that have been suggested to us in that list. But sometimes we have things in bigger categories than you might hope for. And I've been asking if we can add all of the very specific items to it and
The pictures.
plug them in. Yeah, but unfortunately, we just don't have the staff or the time to sit there and plug every single individual item in.
So
This
you're
list,
hiring, are you hiring?
ask your legislator to give us the funding, and then we'll hire more people and we'll do more of that stuff. We're really strapped for resources, and so these are what we're trying to do, these workshops, to try and give people the information, and hopefully you guys
And
can,
it's appreciated, but it's
Yeah.
half a drop in the bucket.
yeah, I
Because
understand.
there's no public education whatsoever, and
Yeah.
you know, and these are motivated. This is like, a crowd that's gonna follow or try to follow anyway.
Yeah.
But and half of us, or at least I can speak to myself, I have no idea. I mean, I heard this lecture before, but it's still, I was left with a,
Oh,
so
this
what
is
goes
new.
in and what goes out, and
This
it's
is
just
new.
more
Yeah, this
confusing.
is-
Yeah.
I've been waiting years for
Yeah,
this kind of
yeah.
lecture.
How about the Amazon bubble?
Yeah,
bags?
that's a good question.
Those ones, so again,
Not
it's
this one,
it's
the
that.
one.
I know that
Yeah,
goes in.
it's that thumb test, like if you can stretch it before it breaks, it's in. And those you can stretch before they break, so those are in.
Are you
Yeah.
supposed to
Making
pop
the
them still or
bags.
not
You do not have to pop them.
anymore? Well, the big ones you put.
But that,
Now they have the bags that are made of paper, but inside there are bubbles.
yeah.
What about those?
Those ones, I believe if you rip it open, the entire thing is made of paper. So those can be
Okay.
put in the blue
With
bin.
the-
If
with
you
the
did rip it
bubbles.
open and there was like plastic inside there, that would be a mixed material and that wouldn't be able to
Oh,
go in.
with the
but-
bubbles inside?
Yeah, I've received some of those, and as far as I can tell when I rip it open, it is
I
all
think they're
paper.
trying.
Yeah,
I think
it
everybody's
seems like it,
trying
yeah,
to
yeah.
see
So
that.
the Amazon thing will go in the blue bin or the
The paper ones that she's talking about, those can go in the blue bin, if they're made of paper. But if they are this or that bubble version, these should go in the wrap program at your grocery
Wrap.
store. Yeah, because they're plastic film.
So you should have those in the school for the kids, because they will keep us all
The
honest.
wrap collection.
Oh, what you did with us. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
there's only Eitan here, and he will tell a few of his kids, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But the kids are the one that,
Yeah,
know,
I actually
you
do
should-
have a school presentation coming up, but it takes a lot to get permission to do these presentations because
just
it's
get
a
it
lot
to
of my time and
the
there's,
teachers should go through that and teach the kids.
I do think that these are very valuable. Like you said, people who come out to these programs generally are people who are already doing the research and trying, yeah. So I'm not necessarily reaching all of the people who I would love to reach, but it's better than nothing. And yeah, I would love to do more of these programs, but we have to wait for people to reach out to us in order to go give them. They don't want us just trying to go speak to people when they don't want to listen, is sort of the idea that I get.
But also, you know, when you go in Europe, there's a recycling box or bin, and there's a sticker there that tells
Yeah.
you what should go in it, or at least what should not. So that is just an easy way of putting it in public places, and then
Yeah.
hopefully people
Yeah.
take it from there and use it at home.
The problem is that costs money.
Yeah.
And bins, they're run by municipalities. And so municipal money especially is tight. And it's hard to spend money on something like that if you don't know that it's gonna have the return you need it to. And the motivation to do it would be people asking for it. Yeah,
In
government-
Portugal, they have these bins, and then the ground opens up so that when they're full, they go down. And then the city or the municipality comes by almost every day, picks them up, and they're empty again. And
Yeah.
it's just like, in every corner, like, of the street, they have them all over. It's just amazing.
yeah, that's wonderful to hear. I wish we had
Yeah,
that.
no,
Yeah.
because, it used to be there was so much litter, all over the place.
Mhm.
And now, there's no need for that.
Yeah. So, going back to the quiz, if no one else has any questions or
Frustration to air out.
Yeah. This is the place. I'll do my best to answer and give what I know, but honestly, a lot of these issues are frustrating.
And I know that
Yeah.
you're working within the constraints, but it's
Yeah.
just a really confusing scheme to really master.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully the app can help with that, but I know that having all the specifics sort of hidden in the synonyms can make it difficult. But if you look up like hardcover books, the entry for books will come up, and that applies to hardcover, softcover, like every kind of book that you are thinking, it does apply to.
So goes to the library instead.
Yeah, no, that's actually something we have in the app. It says like if it's in the correct condition to donate, please donate it. But if you can't, then it can be recycled. You know, so we have that all those sort of details on there. So these are two items that are called spiral wound containers. Do we think these are in or out? This one, in or out? This one is in. So this one is made entirely of cardboard. There's no other materials on here. This one I think held oatmeal. And so sometimes the caps of these actually have plastic around the cap, but if you remove the plastic from the cap, all the rest of it is paper or cardboard or boxboard, and it can be recycled.
And the plastic is not?
The plastic you would throw away. Yeah.
Now, how
And
are we
then what-
supposed to know that?
Yeah,
So-
what's the difference between that plastic and this plastic? I mean, obviously,
Which
there are
plastic
different
in-
types of, different types of plastic, but
So the plastic that's on this cap here,
Yeah.
well, the one that was on the old mill,
Yeah,
that was good.
Or this,
it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, what,
right? It's
the
plastic.
question is,
So,
why is
the
this,
reason that
why
this
is
is
Dunkin'
in,
recycled?
the reason that this is in, and I'll give you the answer. This is out because this material right here, it has this plastic on the top that's attached. It has this metal that you could like take off if you wanted to, but then even the inside is lined with a weird metal-y, waxy material. It's just a nightmare. It's out. And the cardboard one is in. The reason why this wouldn't be accepted versus this cup is simply because they're expecting this. They're expecting this kind of container to be coming down that conveyor belt. They
Okay.
know that it belongs in there. This, they look at it and they're like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what material it is. The machines that it's going to go through, it'll just fall through. It just won't be properly sorted by the machines. And so it just won't be properly sorted. Because the machines that they have, the capabilities of those machines is meant to capture this. It's not looking for these.
But that's not based on size. That's based on the type of plastic. They don't know what it is, right?
This is based on shape, size, shape. That's what it is. So any plastic container that is a cup or a food container, they're looking for those. This lid, they're not.
Maybe they should
They're
be
not looking for
educated.
I mean, it's the machines.
Let me
If you
ask-
could invent a machine that just automatically attracts all plastic to it, I'm sure they would beg you for it.
Well, let me ask you a
But
question.
it's just what
So
the technology
if
is.
just like we have a container in our transfer station that collects glass, if we had one that collects plastic and we throw this in, it will
You
be.
should talk to TerraCycle,
No, I'm-
because that's what they do. They collect stuff that's very specific, and when they get enough of that stuff, they will sell it to someone to create new things with it. So if you've ever heard of TerraCycle and how they collect, so they're a company that collects, I think they,
Chip wrappers.
yeah, like all
or
sorts of
juice
things.
boxes, or
They
really
collect
weird
coffee
things,
cups, like the K-cups, anything that is like weird like this, where you're like, why the heck can't they take that in the blue bin? Because it is a material that's recyclable, but the limiting factor is the machinery and the technology that they have. TerraCycle will create programs for stuff like that, and they will take that stuff and collect it, like you were saying.
But they don't throw it in an incinerator or in a landfill? How do we know that?
They're promising that they're not.
Well,
Why
so
else
there
would
was
they
a
collect
lawsuit
it?
against them.
Yeah.
Like, why
But it's
else
as
would they
simple
collect
as,
it?
again, putting another big
because it's
container
money.
like we have
Oh,
for
they
glass,
They
that
charge
only
you
takes
for the
plastic, and then,
There's a
they
whole
pay for it to
host
come back
of
to them. They charge you
logistical
for it.
issues that stop places from doing it. Yeah, because materials recovery facilities, they need to make money. They are businesses. And if this material doesn't come around as often as it needs to in order for them to sell it, it's not going to be worth it to collect or to put in the effort to grab it off of that assembly line that's going.
but is it because of
miles
the
an
kind
hour.
of plastic that it is, or what? Because again,
It's the shape, it's the shape.
It's the
they-
shape.
Move over.
no, but the shape is because someone is picking it, but if it's put in a container, in a big, dumpster, I'm saying if it is, because again, if instead of having 6 kinds of plastics, there would be 1 kind of plastic, and we would put it just like we put glass, in a sense,
Yeah.
a big chunk of the solution.
That, I think, is the issue of them having to trust that it's been sorted correctly by individuals. So something like that, like, I know everyone in this room is very passionate about sorting this stuff correctly and putting it in the right place, but people literally put diapers in their blue bin. So many people are not going to be dedicated enough to this issue that that is going to work properly. It's such a wicked problem.
And a
It's-
good example is we recycle glass, and there's signs that say remove the labels, but people still do not remove the labels when they recycle the glass. So you can't foolproof all this.
Yeah.
You have to remove the paper when you recycle the glass, but they are always finding paper in those glass containers. So it's a proper, it's a great initiative
Yeah.
to sort it,
Mhm.
but that also has its own challenges.
Yeah, every single, like,
Because there are lazy
Yeah.
people that just don't want to do the extra work.
yeah, that don't care.
Or they don't
People
know,
live in a
they don't
Yeah.
want
More
to, but there's
more.
plenty of signs at the transfer station. It's not, I think it's the willingness to learn and change. That's.
And there's also a lot of issues of access. Like a lot of people are worried about how they're gonna feed their kids the next day. They're not worried about, oh, am I putting the correct item in my recycling bin? It's such a hard, huge issue to fully get a grasp on, and every single person is coming at it from their own perspective, and it's so hard to account for all of that with whatever system we're working in. So,
And then
You
you
know,
have
Red tape,
seniors.
They don't have that discipline.
mhm,
They don't know.
yeah,
It's
And
human
then you
behavior.
have seniors who, I go, are you recycling this? Oh, no, just throw it out. And it's in the bottles.
yeah.
I'll go, okay, I'll take them home with me,
Mhm.
It comes down to human behavior. I mean, if everybody did everything that was right, we'd all be losing weight,
Yeah.
and we'd all be eating right,
Yeah,
and we'd all be vegan.
Ooh,
And
that
we're
was
all
very-
not. Like, it takes a long time to shape it, and it takes
Yeah.
something like education, like
Yeah.
something impactful to change
Yeah.
someone's
Habit,
changing their habits and their behavior
Yeah,
patterns.
and so the job of like me and my coworkers is trying to make things more accessible for everyone. And it's a wicked problem. There's so many pieces to it, so, yeah, unfortunate.
Are you stressed yet?
I'm always stressed. I was already here, don't worry about it. So,
This is exciting.
yeah, more items to go through. So this is one of our cartons, and this is one of our aseptic containers that I was talking about earlier. So this has that weird metal lining that's similar to the one on the Pringles can, and it's made of mostly paper, cardboard material, but it is waterproof because this holds coconut water. And so this is what's called an aseptic container. These are really weird materials, but they started to receive so many of them, and they started seeing so many of them, and that paper is so valuable that even though it's a mixed material, they started accepting it. They started to accept it.
Even with
So
the
this
wax?
is in.
Even with the wax, if it has wax?
Yeah. If you leave the cap on, they'll take it with the cap on. Yeah, they just started to receive so many of them that they did innovate a new way to sort it. And it was worth it to capture this. So this is now in, even though it's a difficult material to deal with. And so is this carton. This carton is in.
I noticed that the cartons don't have the wax anymore, a lot of them.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't, this is actually a very old carton because
Okay.
we've, you know, all these materials
Yeah.
have been collected over a long period of time, but yeah, these are in. We have this ice cream container, so it's made of a papery material, but it has this wax coating that makes it waterproof
No.
to hold the ice cream in or out. Yeah, it's out. For some reason, they don't receive enough of these to put them in, but they receive enough of those cartons. What's
It
up?
looks so similar to the coconut water one.
Yeah, and
It actually looks much more innocent.
yeah, something about this coating that they put on these specific containers. The coating inside here is almost metallic. It's a different coating on the inside. Something about that difference makes this that much harder and not worth it for them to capture. So this is in, and then this is out.
So this is similar to like a Starbucks, a cup, Starbucks cup. Which
yeah,
is
like
like
a
paper
Starbucks
and
coffee
inside
cup?
there's like, yeah, like the paper
Yeah.
with a little bit of lining inside.
That would be out. Because if it's a paper material and it still looks like the paper on the inside, but it has this waxy coating that makes it waterproof, that's out.
And a solo cup, is it?
Yeah, because that's just plastic. It doesn't have this like weird coating that they don't really know how to deal with. Okay, and then our black plastic takeout container, in or out?
But the
Yeah,
white
so
ones
these
go
are
out?
out. White ones are in. The only reason that this is out. Yeah, no, this one is a very weird one. The only reason that this is out is because one of the technologies that they use to sort materials is an optical scanner. So it's literally a camera that they have that looks at the belt as all the materials are going by, and it can tell what material certain things are made out of. So it's looking for plastics like this, but something about the color black makes it look like the belt, or it just messes with the optical scanner in a way
So
that's
it's
not
the color,
sorted
but
properly.
it's not the content of the
Yeah.
plastic.
It's not the content of the plastic, it's literally the color. So there's all these intricacies that are so
So
strange.
clear?
Yeah.
A clear is.
Clear is in, black is the one that's out, because it reflects weird and the optical scanner reads it wrong every time and it's sorted incorrectly.
What about
So,
that big
these
tub
are
you
out.
have? That's plastic.
This,
Yeah.
so this is too big. This would be considered bulky waste. What is the size? I think a 2-liter like soda bottle is in. That's in. I can't remember exactly what size it is that differentiates whether it's too large. But if you check the app, it has the I believe the exact size that the container has to be in order to be in versus out. But this is too big. This would not. They don't understand this. Shampoo. All right, shampoo bottle. What do we think? In or out?
Out.
Only it's not black.
Oh, so this is in, which is very exciting, but you should clean it out. And all you need to do in order to clean it out is if you can get some water in there and then shake it up and then empty it out. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be, you can't just have like a ton of product still in there. And something that my coworker likes to say about peanut butter
Right,
jars.
that's what I was concerned about, the peanut butter and like
Yeah.
conditioner bottles,
Yeah.
Nutella.
My coworker likes to say to give the peanut butter jars to your dog to clean them out for you. But generally with peanut butter, I will just fill it with water and let it sit for as long as it needs to clean out. And that's enough.
Oh, okay.
Like I'll let it sit, let the peanut butter like get into the water, shake it up, and then clean it out. If there's a little bit left on it, it's okay.
Alright.
Yeah, because they're using, like you were saying for the glass, you guys have to remove the labels when you sort your glass. When it goes through a MRF, they take the label off of things, and they're doing it with like powered water jets.
Okay.
And so if you're cleaning your stuff to the nth degree, it's just going to get power washed again in the facility to get the labels off. So you don't have to clean it perfectly, just enough so that if it's in the bin with paper, it's not going to get the paper all covered in food, because that's when paper is out with that pizza box example. It just needs to be clean enough that it's not going to contaminate anything else. But plastic and
But what if the shampoo has a pump?
the pump can go in.
Has to be cleaned up.
Yeah, so it has to be just as clean as this. And the pump can go in, but if you take the pump off, throw the pump away and the bottle can go in. The pump is too complicated. But if you leave it on the bottle will get sorted correctly, and they'll manage the pumps because they expect those. So they've figured out a way.
Any color.
Yeah, any color.
Black is okay for this, but not for food.
Any black plastic is a no.
Okay, so
Yeah,
But
black
just
is-
black or any other color?
just black. Only black. It's because it's the same color as the belt. So when it goes under the optical scanner, it does not do well. Styrofoam egg container.
Out.
Yeah, that's out. Styrofoam, always out. What if this was, actually, what if it was this? Made of paper. This is it. Beautiful.
Give it to someone that's raising chickens.
How about this drink holder in cardboard? Yeah, that's it. And that's nice and valuable. They want to see these.
Yeah.
How about this? This is clear plastic. It's been heat formed. So this is one of the weird, annoying ones that looks like it should be just like a plastic food container
Yeah.
that, you would expect that they would be able to sort this correctly. But unfortunately, because it's heat formed, it is out. So any sort of plastic piece that you find that's just like a weird shape like this, where it clearly was like, there was a mold and then they heat formed it into that mold in order to create it.
Does that have a
That's
number on it anyway?
It does have a number on it anyway. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Regardless of the
unfortunately,
number.
the number doesn't tell you whether it's in or out. This is out. So you'll find this type of thing is also like, if you buy scissors and they have the plastic like over the scissors, that's heat formed. Also batteries, when you buy batteries, that kind of plastic, that's also heat formed. Stuff like that, that's all out. How about this?
And
In, beautiful. Just like this carton right here, also in. How about this takeout food container? It's made of cardboard, it's got this coating
Oh,
so that it can hold food.
Lining.
never mind that.
Yeah, it's out because of the lining on the inside. It forms a seal so that it's watertight, and if it's a watertight paper material, that's out, unless it's that aseptic
Because some of
container.
them do not have the wax
Right.
inside.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
the whole food ones, they don't have, no?
Right, some of them are supposed to be compostable.
They don't.
I think.
Yeah, if they don't have like any sort of coating on them and they are purely paper, I would say that could be in. Okay, let's see. How about this honey jar? Yeah, that's glass. So that would be in.
No label.
If you guys are putting it at your transfer station though, you'd have to take this label off first, as we've
Yeah.
learned. So this is in the blue bin, but at your transfer station, make sure the label is off.
So just a question on that.
Yeah.
If you're, somebody picking up your trash and you're just throwing it in the blue bin, paper doesn't have to go on? Is that the implication?
Correct. Because this will be power washed, the same as the plastic, to get the label off.
And the glass is not going,
Yeah,
glass is going
I
to a
don't know
different
exactly
tap.
how your program works, but it seems like it's probably going to, probably being sold to an end market directly, so
It
it's
is.
probably,
The purpose was to
So you're-
offload
yeah.
from the tipping fees and all of that for the highway division.
So this is for the extra one, not for like Santana or DRS
Correct,
or
so
whoever.
you don't separate your glass out, right?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
So
pickup,
people
you
who
don't
have
separate.
who pay
The
for
extra
pickup
one.
do not actually separate the glass out.
No, they're just
Separately.
they're
From
just
the single
recycling.
stream, yes. And oddly enough, that still goes to the Woodbridge transfer station. It doesn't get separated out. It's a thing.
all right, so this one.
Heat form.
Yeah, so the plastic is out,
You're in it.
but if you take the cardboard off, you could put the cardboard in the recycling, but the plastic can go in the recycling bin. So that's a little bit of a halfway, but I'll put it over here because I didn't separate the cardboard. This is a granola bar box
It's nature.
It's nature, it's good, right?
made of paper, not holding any water. That's it. And a valuable material. Okay, how about this? This is can holder, so it'll go on the top of your, usually beer cans, but maybe soda cans as well. Do we think this can go in or out?
It's heat
That's a good
form,
point.
it's heat
Oh, it's
form.
black. Black.
It's also heat form.
It is black. It is not heat formed
Oh, it's
actually.
not?
But that's a good guess. So usually any heat formed plastic will be that clear. So it has to be clear and also heat formed. This is indeed out, and the reason is the shape, but the secondary reason is also the color. So this one is a double whammy out, but even if you have something that is this shape, but it's like a white one that holds your cans, it's still out. But oftentimes, breweries will sometimes take these back. So I would recommend looking around to, if you're that dedicated, looking around to see if anyone will take these back and reuse them. But otherwise, they should go in the garbage. All right, how about this yogurt cup?
Plastic or paper?
It is
Plastic.
plastic,
Like
but
paper
it's
on the
got a
outside.
little paper label on the outside.
We should take off the label
So this is in. If you take off the label, which they actually have a little tear point for you that says something about recycling, but I honestly, unless it has a how to recycle symbol on it, I usually don't necessarily trust what is printed on products. The how to recycle label is pretty reliable though. It'll have like the recycling symbol, and then on the bottom it'll say what material it is and whether or not it can be recycled. That's pretty reliable, but yeah, this, if you take off the sleeve is recyclable separately because the sleeve is made of paper, and then the inside is a plastic, and it does look like it is bigger than that 2-inch by 2-inch glass sorting grate, and so this could go in. It would not contaminate the glass, and it would be sorted
But you
properly.
should separate. I didn't know
You should,
that.
I would recommend separating this type of label specifically because it's cardboard. If it was like a glued on paper label, you wouldn't need to bother with that because it'll be taken off by the power washing. But this is a little sturdier, and it probably would take a little more to separate it. So I would recommend that. And then how about this straw that came from that Dunkin' container? Yeah, this is out. So if you get your Dunkin' cup and it comes with a straw, yeah, this should go
Cut
in the
it up.
garbage. Yeah, if you can cut it up, that'd be awesome for the purpose.
Don't take it.
Yeah,
Don't take it.
refuse. Good thinking. Yeah, I carry around a bunch of metal straws with me all the time, and it's a little bit of a pain, but it's worth it. And how about this? Another ice cream container,
No?
also out. It's got that food sadly. Okay, how about this plastic fork,
Sit down.
plastic utensil?
You
Yeah.
said we listened.
Good work. I love testing multiple times. It reinforces the knowledge. This is indeed out.
And that goes for the bioplastic in PLA too, right?
Sorry?
The bioplastics, the utensils that are bio in PLA?
Are those in or out? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are also out. Sometimes they can be composted in commercial facilities, but I would check that.
We don't have one.
Yeah.
We don't have one.
Yeah, so in that case, just out. And then, how about this? This is a gum container. It looks to be made of paper.
And
This is indeed in. This piece is made entirely of paper, and this actually has the how to recycle symbol on it. And it shows all 3 of the materials that were in this when it was purchased. So it shows plastic wrap, which was used to hold all of the pieces of gum together. It shows multi-layer wrapper, which is what each individual piece of gum comes in. Both of those have that slash through it, which means those cannot be recycled. And then the paper sleeve has no slash through it, which means that it often can't be recycled. And so I believe the threshold that they follow, because How to Recycle is a national program, they label for the entirety of the US. So I believe that their threshold is that 60% of towns have to have the ability to recycle the material in order for it to be considered recyclable on How to Recycle. So the plastic wrap on the inside, the multi-layer wrappers, those would go in the trash, and this paper sleeve would go into the blue bin. And then I have all of these little containers.
Let's go to Lana.
You said RX bottles or not?
Yeah, this is an RX or pharmacy bottle, and you are correct. I did say that these are out, and do you know why?
You said something at the top, what do you think? Too small.
It's too small, so it'll fit through that 2-inch by 2-inch grate where they sort the glass through, and so this would contaminate the glass, and so this is indeed out. And how about for the rest of these? This is another pill bottle for acetaminophen.
Still not.
They're bigger in.
Well, it is bigger, but.
This one, I would actually get out my ruler and measure, because this is super close. I do think that when I measured it, it was less than 2 inches, so I think this one is also out. But that just shows about how big 2 inches is and what these bottles can look like. How about this lemon squeeze bottle?
No.
Bigger.
Well, no, the width is not the height. And it has to fit by 2 by 2, so it's like no.
It is a little bit bigger. And so this one I would say is in, because it's bigger than that 2 by 2. Just barely, so this one's really close, and honestly, if I was being super cautious, especially since it's a squeeze bottle that can get crushed and smaller, I might just put it in the garbage because I don't want to contaminate. I want to be really cautious. But you could feasibly put this in, and if it doesn't get squished, it would get sorted properly. So cautiously putting it over here.
Let me ask you a question here.
Yeah.
What if you put all those little ones in a plastic container that is big?
Yeah, I get that question all the time, and sadly, again, it's about what the facilities are expecting. And so if they get a container that is closed, they're expecting, oh, that's just a container. They're not going to break it open and see that inside is a bunch of other plastic items.
Inside the Dunkin' Donuts. I'll put this one in the Dunkin' Donuts.
It just won't get sorted properly. Yeah, no, I understand. Grasping at straws, like, please. But yeah, that would again be something for like TerraCycle. Look and see if they have an option to collect that particular item. Or oftentimes with RX bottles, they'll be taken back by, I think police precincts often take them back. And I believe that they reuse them, but I'm not totally sure about that actually. Usually I think they're trying to take them back to take back any expired medicine. Yeah. But they will take those bottles back, and I don't know the particulars. I'm sure different stations do different things, but some of them might recycle them. You could inquire. And then we also have this vanilla extract bottle. Do we think that's?
Because of black.
I was gonna say because of the food coating, because it's a food.
So the black color, I hadn't even actually thought about that previously. That's true. It probably would be sorted incorrectly because the machines wouldn't understand what it is. But it is, if it did happen to be, like I have a clear vanilla extract bottle at home actually. So if this was a clear bottle, it looks like it would be bigger than that 2-inch threshold. So it would be in if it was clear, but since you said it is black, that would actually be out. So this size bottle could go in if it was the right color, but again, it is black. And this is just an example of, this is when we recycle materials, sometimes they can be made into new things, and a lot of you may have seen this deck material around. I think that the company, Trex, they will use plastic to make
that's
Stuff
the,
like this.
what we're gonna
Deposits.
actually start here is the Trex recycling for the film plastic, so you
That's awesome.
collect it and then.
Yeah, and then they give you the
send
bench,
it.
right?
Yes, and
Yeah,
then give us a bench
That's
if we do
awesome.
enough.
yeah.
Or if we don't, we just still get to recycle a bunch of plastic, which will also be good.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Also a benefit, yeah. So this is what you can
Yeah.
make with all these materials we're recycling. And then the last thing in here is just the top of that, that ice cream, so.
My hangers are not in. They're
So-
either metal or plastic.
Yeah, so it is yet again about what they're expecting and what the machines can handle. And specifically, metal hangers are the worst for their machines because they're strong, because they're made of metal, but they're also malleable because they're made of a metal that you can twist and turn. So they get stuck in the machines in a way that's really bad and they do not want them. And then with the plastic ones, it's again about what they're expecting and what they can capture, and they just can't capture the plastic
So
ones.
the dry cleaning, I get it back to them.
Yeah.
Oh,
Let them
yeah.
deal with that.
Yeah.
But how about the wrap, the plastic? Can that go to the
That's the
shop?
film plastic.
So if you have a plastic film,
But the dry
any
cleaning,
type of plastic
that goes
film.
to the shop, to the stores?
Yes.
I don't know exactly
Yeah.
what type of plastic it is, but if you have a
It's
guess,
stretchable, for sure,
yeah, if it's stretchable, it can go into those
the
programs.
stores. Or to the bench.
Yeah, yeah.
So that would be a big piece because
Yeah, so we're hoping to have a deposit station at the school and the town hall. And maybe we're debating the transfer station, we have to actually stay in the garage. So,
do we have batteries recycling and stuff?
so batteries, our regular batteries now go back to the trash.
Go in trash.
The
There's-
lithium ones are hazardous, actually.
There is
So that's hazardous,
a,
so it's a whole separate.
Do we collect it?
there's an EPR program that they're trying to pass for batteries, so if that's something you want to see, talk to your legislator, because they're considering it this legislative session. But I believe for now, batteries are garbage, unless they're lithium ion, which is.
So we have a hazardous, pick up once a year, well, one, you can take it down to.
Yeah, Home Depot would take it, but
Oh, yeah, that's good too.
but
But there's also, so Woodbridge does it, I think we did it in September of last year, has waste drop off. And Orange is actually doing it on the same day that we're doing Earth Day, so don't go down to Orange, you should be here.
What are they doing?
But
the
they're
paint?
doing it then, if you do have like a bunch of batteries.
And once
they-
a year they do the paint thing.
Yes.
When is that coming?
Yeah, that likely would be the same time, I would think. So plan for the fall for Woodbridge stuff.
But there's stuff like a station in
There is
that,
one,
like,
and you can
IKEA.
take it, it doesn't open, I want to say, Lauren, do you remember when it opened, or Eric, you might know, do you recall?
It's generally open from about April.
Yeah, it's like, they're not in the
They're not
winter
open.
time, basically, it's like April or May, that they,
So that's 6 months.
yeah, it's about 6 months, that you can go anytime to drop the stuff off. But, I know, it is, we went from, like, when recycling first happened, everything had to be separated, and now we're single stream, and then it's hard to re-separate again. So,
A couple other materials.
Oh, yeah, you have
So
more
good to
questions?
put on
Like paper is ultimately recyclable.
Yes, weekly.
How about glossy
Yeah,
paper?
for stuff.
so
What type of
I'll
paper?
Glossy.
Glossy paper, yeah,
Not-
so,
well,
so.
Similar magazines with single sheets.
Yeah, so glossy paper, when the way that they treat it, they don't like add any chemicals to it, to my knowledge, beyond just the printing piece. So I believe it's literally just how they make it, so that is in.
And then
Bags of
envelopes that,
stickers.
Yeah, backs of stickers would be out, that's, yeah.
what kind of stickers?
Sticker, like the
waxy
the back,
thing?
yeah, whether
Even,
it's
even
wax or
stickers
plastic,
themselves, anything to do with stickers would all be out, yeah.
Okay. Envelopes that have see-through windows.
Yeah, those are in. If you are willing to take the windows out, they would appreciate you for that, yeah.
What about recyclable bottles that you're reused for recycled bottles? You know what I mean? If you have a bottle, you recycle it and they use it again, or a drinking bottle, is that,
Yo,
So
Still-
water bottles with recycled content in them already?
no, a bottle that's recycled and reused as a recycled bottle, purchased and rebottled.
So like
Like a
a
milk
glass,
bottle or
like a
something?
glass milk bottle that's
Your
like,
glass,
water bottle,
milk
for
bottle,
example,
plastic.
can that
Can
be
your
recycled?
water about the now
milk
get
bottles are
is this what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
but if it's already recycled and reused.
Yeah.
Something
Okay.
reused
That doesn't
again. So it's been
degrade
recycled and
the
it's used
plastic in
again.
any way? and-
Does it go
So
through again?
are you talking about something that is made with recycled materials?
Right.
That, it depends on what it is. Like, if they made it into something that is in this pile, then yes, it's recyclable again. But if they made it into, you know, something that was in that pile, no. It just depends on,
She's talking about a plastic bottle that
Yeah.
has already been
Milk jug.
It's
recycled.
like, does it degrade the
Yes.
plastic so it
Yeah.
changes?
it should be able to be recycled again. Yeah.
So milk and
This bottle can be recycled. If I did, for some reason, decide that I was done with it, I could recycle it.
and the aluminum or
Aluminum,
stainless steel.
that's a good question. I have never been asked that before or even thought about it. I will write that down. That's interesting.
Yes, it's like,
Yeah.
It has that plastic coating around.
I'm sure it depends on the type.
Yeah.
Like yours.
Because there's some bottles that I know if they're like double walled, sometimes they
Right.
seal them with a different material.
Stainless steel is not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think,
Those science, feel like thermoses has like be like, and normally it's like a finishing mat, and I think the mat's normally the plastic that's on it. So,
Like the heat or
but to
cold
keep it in, they have to
preserving
use.
the insulation.
But
Insulation
with
problem.
the
But
mat,
there's nothing,
so
there's
there's
just
actually the
air
mat
in
around
between.
If you can't tell what it is, it's not recyclable.
yeah,
So-
that is the, yeah, that is the, that is the
Yeah.
answer.
It's too many
The old
things.
ones used to have,
Oh, yes,
What about,
Different if
water
you're
bottles,
doing segregated versus single serve.
water bottles like thermos, because
Yeah, I
there's,
know.
they have cement tanks that keep the temperature as close to base as possible. They don't want it to rise or fall.
Yeah, okay, so actually I wanted to talk about shredded paper in particular, I forgot to do that. So,
Well, yes, the plastic coating.
so shredded paper in particular, I just said that it's out and I had to shorten this presentation for a place that I didn't have enough time to do the whole thing and I forgot to add the slides back in. Shredded paper is specifically out because at material recovery facilities, when they receive shredded paper, the air quality in the facility is awful and workers literally will have breathing problems because of the shredded paper. There's like so much particulate matter from the shredded paper in the air that it causes worker health issues. So if you have a facility where they collect shredded paper or they collect paper separately, you can put shredded paper in, but not into the blue bin. Only if there's a specific shredded paper event or if they're collecting it separately and they say you can put it in. But in the blue bin, shredded paper is out because it causes those issues.
and we have that too once a year, right? They
So
take-
it's actually shredder,
Just
they're
a reminder, we
shredding.
close at 20 minutes, that's all.
Okay, we gotta get out of here in 20 minutes, so I can take a few more questions, but
So I'm going back to the glass before.
yeah.
So in order for that to go to the container, we need to remove the label and the cap, the cap.
Yes, and for Woodbridge.
But if you just throw it,
But if it's collected, if you have it collected, then
not collected, you throw it to the mix.
Yeah.
If
So
you
Then
get
it's
in the
okay.
blue bin, the
You're-
label
If you're
can
going
be
to
on.
the transfer station yourself, yes,
So
correct.
Yes.
But if we don't go to the transfer station, we just have
You
to
just
decide
live
right.
like you're living it.
I'm living my life, okay?
I have a question.
Yes.
So there's always this myth going around about recycling and like, oh, what's the point? Like 80% of it always gets wasted. Is that true?
Now we know it's true.
Or is it true or is it really?
So I think that myth often comes from either people seeing that like bags of material that is recyclable doesn't get recycled because it's in a bag. So the reason that it doesn't get recycled is because they don't have the time to look and make sure that it is. So bagged materials, I think, contributes to that. People will often see like trucks leaving materials recovery facilities with materials in them going to the garbage, and that's because they have to sort the materials and they have to sort out the materials that don't belong in the blue bin. There are also sometimes garbage trucks that when they do collection, they'll either be dual collection, so they'll have two different beds, one for recycling, one for garbage, and people think, oh, they're putting it in the same truck, they must be throwing it all away, when actually they have two separate beds. Sometimes companies actually do just put it all in the same bed, and they shouldn't be doing that, and if they are doing that, let me know. There's all sorts of different places that comes from, and a lot of it is contamination. A lot of it is people just seeing garbage trucks and saying it's not going to the right place. Yeah, and sometimes, every once in a while, there's an expose like about the film that they recently did. I think it was on CBS, where they put trackers in a bunch of different pieces of plastic film, and then they didn't get recycled properly. That is potentially, this is a big potentially, because they found the tracker and said that's not actually the right material, so they sent it to the garbage. Yeah, so there's so many different things that can happen. It's a huge system, and it depends on so many pieces working correctly. And so whenever someone sees one of those pieces not working correctly, it's a big uproar. Because it's like, I'm doing my part, why aren't they doing theirs?
So I can tell people that really truly is a myth, but
Yeah.
if you follow the rules,
Oh,
they-
greatly.
it'll improve the odds.
If everyone, everywhere, immediately, all at once started following the rules, we would recycle so much more material. So much more,
So it's
instantaneously.
not nearly as much waste as people are thinking.
Yeah, yeah. It's not as bad as people think. Oh, what's,
The waste to energy facility,
yes.
we have Wheelabrator in
Yeah.
Bridgeport, wherever it is. Do you know whether they renewed that contract?
I do not know the answer to that question.
Okay.
My office doesn't really deal with like permits and all that sort of like nitty gritty stuff. I mostly do as much education as I can, and yeah, so I don't have the answer to that. But if you wanted to get the answer to that, I could give you my card and
Yes.
you
Well, because
can
I
email me and
heard
can
two
figure it
different
out.
things. I heard that they
Yeah.
may not, and then I heard that their ash pit is getting, I guess, sent to Preston, who expanded their ash pit.
So
So
interesting.
I,
Yeah, unfortunately I don't know the answer right now, but my coworkers would, so you could email me if you want
Okay,
to.
sure,
Yeah.
great.
Is wet paper recyclable?
So it depends on.
Or that sat in the rain, or
I think that would depend on if it is clearly like damaged by the rain. So if you dry it out and it's like, oh, that's just dry, normal paper again,
wrinkled?
that would be fine. Yeah, like if it's wrinkled, it's okay. But if it's moldy or like mildewy or something has happened to like break it down, that's not gonna be in anymore.
So food cans, the top,
Where you
or
use
the
like
soda can, the ring,
yeah,
what about this?
those are all in.
In.
Like, so,
Really?
if you have like a soup can, that's in. If
But
you
the top.
have like,
You pop the top and it can, both the pieces.
yeah, both pieces can go in.
But it's smaller than the 2x2.
If it's smaller than the 2x2,
No, it's
you
not
probably
smaller than
should.
the 2x2. No.
Yeah, but it's
What,
wide.
2 inches?
If it's wide enough, it should be able to go in. If it's smaller than the 2 inches,
Okay,
probably
but
not.
the ring of the soda then,
No.
no.
It also depends on the facility because the order of the sortation matters. So a lot of facilities, the way that they sort out metal is they'll use magnets and then they'll also use eddy currents. And the eddy currents can take out aluminum even though aluminum isn't magnetic. So it depends on which stage of the process they're doing
So
that
aluminum
in.
in any form can go?
Sorry?
Aluminum and metal in any form can
So
go to the?
aluminum, you should only put in the blue bin if it's flat. Don't ball it up because if you ball it up, they're like, there's food in there, and they don't want it balled up. So aluminum can only go in if it's totally clean. Like if it got wet at one point with water, that's okay. But if it has touched food, it's likely never going to be clean enough to be in
If so,
the blue bin. Yeah.
What
At the
about the
same-
cans that you open with a can opener, the top?
Those
Yeah,
should be
that's
in.
what I was thinking,
Yeah, those should be in.
Is it better to leave them in with the can or
When I recycle them, I put the tops into the
then to
can,
the can?
and I generally think that that's better.
Better?
Yeah.
Just
So
safer.
aluminum containers, food containers, aluminum,
What shape? like a Spam.
Square, no, plastic.
Yeah, those should be.
No,
yeah,
you
those
just
should
clean them from major food, not
Yeah,
put
those
them
are
to the
something else
dishwasher.
that will be power washed, just like our peanut butter and all that stuff. So yeah.
All right, so one of the other things we're working on, well, thank you first. Thank you so much. One of the other things we're working on for Earth Day is also coming up with a list of like that hierarchy of ways we can reuse things. There's a lot of actually recycling and reusing opportunities in town that people aren't aware of overall. So we're working on a list of things that will be just for Earth Day, or things that do happen like once or twice a year, or things that are ongoing all the time, that there's different organizations that are collecting eyeglasses, or baby stuff, or furniture, or whatever, so that, you know, we have the opportunity, aside from like buy nothing, which I think most of you
Yeah.
also, but to, instead of having to worry about can we even recycle this, how can we get rid of it before that is even an issue?
Yeah.
I have a couple suggestions for that if you want.
I'm ready.
So ski season, you know, it's, you
Yes.
can do that.
Yes.
And when the
Absolutely.
school system start,
Yep.
you know, both for sports
Yes.
stuff and
Yep.
music instruments,
Right,
that
Yeah,
could
that's a big
be,
one.
yep, all those things actually go on buy nothing like crazy. So, and then we're doing school supplies actually for the school too. We're doing that because at the end of the year, you know, all of our children come home with a bag of, you know, half-used pencils and stuff, and half of them go into the trash. And then, so we're actually working as the green team for the school to collect all of those things, and then have them for when you have this list for next year, what can you reuse? So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for